How do you ask for more money once you have already received a grant request approval? In this video, I'm going to go through a few tips and some considerations to think about if you've already received funding and you're in the midst of your project and you are thinking about asking for more money from this funder. My name is Benjamin Dean from grantgetting.com. I hope you enjoy this video and the others like it on the channel, which are aimed at helping you get more grants. Don't forget to check out the free download in the description box, which has 7 additional tips on top of what we are discussing today. So number one, in terms of consideration, is timing. So again, the situation is you have put forth an application. It has been accepted. You have received some or all of the funding to conduct a project, and the project has begun. You can now see that you are going to need additional money. Now, need additional money is something that we can look at it 2 different ways. One way is you underestimated your budget. That is one type of conversation. The other is you see a need for additional services. You see an expansion. You see a program deepening. You see the ability to add a significant amount of value for not a significant amount of money. You see the efficiencies of scale that you've created in your program activities, that now is the time to put more resources, more cash into this thing because it is very scalable in terms of its impact. Okay, so timing is the first thing to consider. You don't want to make a request, generally speaking, too late or too early. Early on, you won't have the demonstrated effects of your program yet. Too late, and a funder is simply going to tell you to wait until the next cycle and not going to be super ready to jump in with something off cycle or recommendations. Okay, so timing is key. Typically, you want it to be in the somewhere in the middle area. Okay, you want to be able to have a clear understanding of how the funds have already been used and how the project is progressing. Before you make your request, you need to think about what is a positive outcome of this situation. Most of these conversations are going to not result in additional funding from that organization. Some will, and that's what we are looking for. But most will not, generally speaking. Generally speaking, grantors who go to the effort of creating application processes, open dates, deadlines, all of that, they're not going to be so willing to kind of go outside of those to help you or to help the community. That this is the business that they're in and they're trying to make things efficient. That doesn't mean you can't ask, but you need to think about what are the best and most likely outcomes from this. Okay, what is more likely is that you will have had a conversation, hopefully of the latter of sorts, where it's an opportunity and not an under budgeting conversation that cues you up for additional funding in future grant applications in their standard process. The other thing that can happen is referrals to other funding sources that this particular philanthropy knows about, this foundation or this corporate giving structure knows about, that can help you right now. Another one that I have seen and that has yielded 6-figure checks. I don't know if 6-figure checks, definitely 5-figure checks, many, $10,000 to $99,000 checks in this realm, which is at some foundations, at many foundations, they're privately funded. Individuals are contributing to them, from their retirement accounts or from their investment income or whatever the case is, but they're individual funded. So you go to the institution, the foundation, and of course, they may say, we just can't do anything for this type of project outside of our timeline, but we know a couple people that are interested in knowing about projects that have this type of impact and funding them outside of our structure. Let me make an introduction to you and you can take it from there. Okay, that is a wonderful request. Now, when you make a request for funding that is outside of the grant cycle, you can cue that up in many different ways. And that's really the second point, which is framing, how to frame your request. It is first and foremost not just about asking for more money. It is about explaining the impact that you're having and why additional investment is a positive thing or why it's urgent and crucial. Consider the outcomes that you've achieved so far and how additional funding could amplify these results. Think also about what you are actually going to ask for. And this is just funder by funder specific. So if you have your outcomes in your mind, you have money coming directly from that foundation as an outcome, you have a referral to another organization, you have increased awareness about a future application, and you have, let's say, a referral to an individual. So just right there, I've named 4 different outcomes that can happen from such a meeting, such a request. The question then is, what are you going to ask for? And one thing that I always remember from, my time learning nonprofit and asking for money in general is, if you want advice, ask for money. And if you want money, ask for advice. And this is a little tongue in cheek, of course, because you need to be asking for money. But it's to make the point that you want to bring people onto your team. You want to make people understand that their opinion matters, that their experience matters. And the more that somebody believes that your project is their project and that they can work, with you, that is, you're going to have more success in raising money. So in this example, you could think about this in the same way. Whereas if you go to a funder that you have current funding from, you're working through a grant, and you want to ask for more money, you might instead ask them for advice on where to find more money. That could be a finish line for you. Now, if you're in this game and you have a lot of different funders, you can try these things out with multiple different people to see how it feels for you. But that's one way to think about it, is how do I frame up this request? Is it about expanding your reach right now? Then in that case, it is truly can you do funding outside of your cycle? Is that possible? And if so, is there a precedent for that? What do we need to do? Because we have an amazing opportunity here. And I'm sure you get a lot of them, but I've never seen one like this before. And we're coming to you first, or we're coming to you as one of our first funders on this. And we wanted to give you the opportunity to come in on this. So this falls under framing as well, which is that, or you could say this is mindset, which is that you want to have the mindset that you are the one that's offering the value here. The opportunity for a funder to fund your project is a positive thing. Somebody putting money into your project and it taking strides forward in terms of community enhancement, bettering the community, that is something that you are offering them. That is a benefit to them. So if you have that mindset that this is a positive thing, it makes these conversations much easier to have and much more naturally flowing. Whereas if you have the mindset of, oh my gosh, I'm so nervous, they're not going to want to do this. Nobody wants to just give away money. Why would they give me more money? They've already given me money, right? That sort of thinking, the flow at which you have your conversation or you draft your communications is going to be sort of indicative of that. It's not going to be a positive, joy-filled, sort of communication. And that's part of framing. Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3 is process and documentation. The process of making the request itself is and can be somewhat critical. You need to provide an updated budget or have that ready, detailed progress reports, and a compelling narrative that ties everything together. If you've already received a grant from them, which you have, that's the example here, you already know what they care about. You've already done that research. You've probably gotten to know some of the folks that actually work at this foundation a bit better. And you have additional insights. And you know what they asked for in the application. So you know the type of things that they look for. You could think about this midterm request, if you want to make it for additional funding, for additional opportunities, ideally, as another grant application. And you could literally go back to the grant application and pull it down, summarize it, change what needs to be changed in terms of where you are right now and the opportunity that you see, And you could present that as an offering to them. Now, it should be far more concise because, again, you need to understand that typically foundations through their grant review cycle are supported by many, many other reviewers. And you're basically asking them to make a decision potentially outside of that process, maybe involving them and maybe not. So it needs to be very concise, very clear, and it needs to completely reinforce everything in your initial project application that got you the grant. Ideally that says, hey, we have achieved so much more than we thought we could by this time that we know additional funding in is going to produce X, Y, and Z. Here's what we've done with the funding you've given us so far. Here's what we're going to do with the remainder. And here's some additional funding opportunities right now. Okay, so that's how to cue that up. It's a conversation that's definitely worth having. Don't be afraid to have it. Have it with an open heart and, an open mind. And it's a positive thing. It gives you another touch point. The other conversation that I've been alluding to, which is that if you under budget and then you need more money to operate, that is not what we're covering in this video. I'll have a separate video to talk about that because that is completely different. And of course, what you want to be doing is preparing to never have to have that conversation. It is not fun. I have had that, one big time in my life, and that's not a fun one. But what we're talking about here in this video is this is this opportunity for you. So as you prepare your next request or prepare to do this for the first time, remember that it's not just about asking for money. It's about showing why it's necessary or important, how it furthers the goals of your organization and their organization. Any questions about this topic, any other ideas or comments on it, please post it down in the comments. I would love to hear from you. That's it. Thank you so much for jumping in, and we'll see you in the next video.